How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, if you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, and a great deal more. I am happy to have you, and we got to talk about the Gaza deal. When was it? A week ago now? A week and a half ago, Benjamin Netanyahu was in Washington, D.C., meeting with the President of the United States. There's actually a story out from Axios about Trump and Netanyahu's interactions. This is from Mark Caputo, probably the most well-placed reporter with the best sources from the Trump administration. When Hamas came back with a yes but to President Trump's Gaza peace proposal on Friday, Trump called Netanyahu to discuss what he saw as good news. Netanyahu felt differently. Bibi told Trump this is nothing to celebrate and that it doesn't mean anything, says a U.S. official. And Trump fired back, I don't know why you're always so effing negative. This is a win. Take it. The exchange, which a second official confirmed, reflects how determined Trump is to push through Netanyahu's reservations and convince him to end the war if Hamas makes a deal. In its official response to Trump's plan, Hamas says it's willing to release all remaining hostages in return for an end to the war and a full Israeli military withdrawal from Gaza. But the group requested negotiations on many of the details. In private consultation Friday, Netanyahu stressed that he viewed Hamas's response as a rejection of Trump's plan. Trump's mood was very different. He had been concerned Hamas would reject the plan outright and saw the response as the opening for a deal. When Trump called Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister's tepid reaction wasn't what he expected. Trump issued a statement calling on Israel to halt its airstrikes in Gaza, and 3 hours later, Netanyahu gave the order. Netanyahu's aides stressed on Saturday he and the president were totally aligned, and Netanyahu recorded a video message praising Trump and emphasizing the parts of the remarks he agreed with. A U.S. official said the dynamic between them on Friday was much more contentious and that Trump was annoyed. But both U.S. officials emphasized the pair had reached an agreement. Now, the president is sending a public message to Hamas saying essentially, you got to hurry up and negotiate. And part of the negotiations must involve all hostages being released and the bodies of the dead hostages being released, not incremental, not in bits and pieces, but release the rest of them now. Indirect negotiations are continuing in Egypt. I want to play you some audio from Dan Senor, who made a point that very few people have talked about. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Dan Senor was a senior advisor in the Bush administration, and listen to this.
We've heard a lot over the last 2 years, really over the last few months, that this is a genocide, which I obviously strongly dispute. But I think the first moral obligation for anyone who has been calling this a genocide for the last 2 years is there's now an opportunity to stop, to quote unquote stop the genocide. So why anyone is not rushing to embrace the deal that would quote unquote stop the genocide, to me reveals that you were never serious that this was a genocide. It was just a political argument to use against Israel.
Yes. I notice how few people are pointing this out. Is it a genocide or not? If it's a genocide, shouldn't you want to stop it? If it's a genocide and the plan to stop it is we're going to rebuild Gaza, you get to stay there and help, but Hamas has to go away, should those terms not be acceptable? After all, we're told the Palestinian people are not Hamas. If they are not Hamas and they think there's a genocide, and the way to stop the genocide is for Hamas to go away, give up all the hostages and go away, shouldn't they want it? Notice, my friends, how quiet they are. Notice, my friends, how all the people who have been screaming genocide seem very quiet about whether or not Hamas should take the deal. And notice to Hamas, which says, we're willing to negotiate. Hamas is always willing to negotiate. Hamas just never actually keeps its word. And Hamas is asked by Donald Trump to go away. Hamas is being asked to lay down its arms and go away. Gaza will be rebuilt. A board of peace will oversee it. And there will be peace. And Hamas is like, nah, we'll talk. They're going to talk. But what else are they going to do? I mean, this is just it. It doesn't matter your views on Donald Trump. The issue is, what about Hamas? What about Hamas? Is there going to be peace or not? Is Hamas going to go away or not? It doesn't seem like Hamas wants to really lay down its arms. It doesn't really seem like they want peace. It doesn't really seem like Hamas is committed to returning the hostages. It just says it will talk. That's all. It will talk. It's time to move beyond the talk. You know, in the Middle East now, you've got this situation where I mentioned on Friday the comedians went to Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to attack the comedians. I'd have gone for $10 million too. They didn't invite me, but I totally would have gone for $10 million and told them some jokes. Saudi Arabia, however, is becoming increasingly a major player. Saudi Arabia actually has a lot of clout with the Trump administration because of their oil. But what Saudi Arabia does not have is clout with Hamas. You know who has clout with Hamas? Iran. And Iranian officials are still stewing over Israel's wiping out of their nuclear capacity with the United States. And Iran is trying to find the money to help Hamas. Qatar, the attack on Hamas in Qatar was not successful. We didn't kill all the people Israel didn't kill all the people they wanted to kill. Do you know what Hamas is doing now? Hamas is relying on Iran and Qatar to fund social media influencers in the United States to spread anti-Semitic talking points. You know, the latest conspiracy theory being spread is that Turning Point USA was behind Charlie Kirk's assassination on behalf of the Jews, that the Jewish donors to Turning Point actually got Turning Point to assassinate Charlie Kirk. This is actually starting to come into more mainstream conspiratorial voices of the right who believe the Jews are behind everything. The Jews are using Turning Point USA as a proxy to kill Charlie Kirk. They're even going so far as to point out that, Charlie Kirk met his wife on a trip to Israel, and guess who's in charge of it now? This is the mind-numbing conspiracy theory stuff, not from people on the left, but from people on the right. And Qatar throws money at this stuff. Qatar is not really our friend. And the president has now told Qatar he'll protect Qatar and defend Qatar from any attacks, including by Israel. The Middle East seems to be slowly unraveling because a lot of the hatred of Jews that seemed like they were willing to get past can't be gotten past. But I say that, and at the same time, Saudi Arabia, which has not recognized Israel, recognizes its need for Israel. And in the process, it's in back-channel conversations with the Trump administration, pushing the Trump administration to really shut down Hamas as a proxy for Iran, because the Houthi in Yemen are also a proxy for Iran, and they've been attacking Saudi Arabia. And guess who has wiped out much of the Houthis' capacity? Not the United States. Israel has. The Saudis are realizing that though they may not have formal peace and recognition between Saudi Arabia and Israel, Israel is protecting the Saudi regime. I got to say this. I don't think the president can trust Hamas, and I don't think he should have done a deal with Qatar. But the president forcing the realignment in the Middle East has been a good thing. The Abraham Accords have been a good thing. Saudi Arabia's increasing recognition that Israel is actually better for them than an emboldened Iran or even a Syria or an Iraq. It's a good thing. Notice the countries that we're not hearing a lot about, Bahrain and Kuwait. Whatever happened to Kuwait? It's still Kuwait City, the richest city on planet Earth, still producing a lot of oil. You don't hear a lot about Kuwait. No drama there. Pro-America allies. Bahrain, the Fifth Fleet, is stationed in Bahrain, right next to Qatar, between Qatar and Saudi Arabia. It's an island nation. You're not hearing a lot about them. Behind the scenes, Kuwait and Bahrain are more and more recognizing, like Saudi Arabia, that Israel is a better protector of their interests than the United States. Because there's a strain within the Trump administration that's isolationist, and in a Democratic administration would be pro-Iran. And anything that's good for Iran is bad for Bahrain and bad for Kuwait and bad for Saudi Arabia. Isn't it a weird realignment? For a long time, a lot of people on the left were all upset with George W. Bush and the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. We never have peace in the Middle East, and it was all George Bush's fault, and he was too pro-Israel. And along comes Donald Trump, and he's more pro-Israel than George W. Bush ever was, and in the process is able to get deals done and recognition given to Israel by Jordan and the United Arab Emirates, by Oman, by Bahrain. You got Kuwait involved in the process. The Democrats only want to deal with Iran. None of the other Middle Eastern nations want Iran. None of the other Middle Eastern nations like Iran. But the Democrats love Iran because they see them as a wedge against the Jews. And right now, we're waiting for Hamas's response to Donald Trump's peace deal. They want to negotiate. It's what they do. They want to negotiate. If they release all the hostages at one time, the dead and the live, Donald Trump may cut a deal where they don't actually have to go away, but they'll have to disarm in some capacity, and even that is a step in the right direction. Boll & Branch kindly sent me a new set of king-size sheets, and I'm happy to get them, but I'll tell you the truth, I've already got Boll & Branch sheets that I've had for about a decade. They are so soft now. They haven't frayed. They haven't worn out. They've just gotten really soft. They're made of the highest quality, 100% organic cotton. They're very durable, and right now they've got limited edition fall colors for a deeply comforting bedroom, and they come with a 30-night worry-free guarantee, and I'm telling you, the more you wash them, the softer they get, and they don't wear out. I've had my set of Boll & Branch sheets for almost a decade. You can start building your sanctuary of comfort this fall with Boll & Branch. For a limited time, get 20% off your first set of sheets plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/Eric. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLAND branch.com/Eric, ERICK. Save 20%, unlock free shippings, exclusions apply, and you get those great fall colors right now. Hi there. there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson across the United States. A lot of people keep asking, what's the end game? Why are the Democrats doing this shutdown the way they're doing it? They're still shut down, no signs of reopening. Russ Vought is plotting who to fire. They've bought him enough time to get people fired. I want to play you this clip. This is Mike Johnson. He was on MSNBC, of all places, went on MSNBC to have this conversation.
But you're going to discuss it and potentially make a decision on these ACA subsidies after families have made their decisions. How is that fair to them?
Well, not necessarily, because we have the entire month of October. Most of the notices for the insurance companies go out in early November, and that's a few weeks ahead of us now. As soon as we get the government open, the sooner the better, so that those things can be resolved. And that's what we're saying. Now, look, Chuck Schumer and all the Democrats who voted against opening the government right now have said all this themselves. Chuck Schumer gave passionate speeches as recently as March of this year. I mean, roll the tape. He's the one that voted for the exact same CR, the exact same spending levels just 6 months ago, and said that we could not possibly shut the government down. He's changed his tune. And I mean, I'm not trying to be, mean about this, right? I respect Chuck Schumer as a person, but he's got a political problem that he's trying to solve using government funding for it. He's afraid, this is very clear and obvious to everybody, he's afraid he's going to get a challenge from his left flank in his next re-election bid. So he needs to show a fight against President Trump and the Republicans, and he's chosen government funding for that. I think it's selfish. I think it's foolish, and I think it's hurting real Americans. We need to get the lights turned back on so we can finish the discussions on these substantive debates.
The speaker is absolutely correct here. It is increasingly obvious that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would like to jump into the Senate and challenge Chuck Schumer, and Schumer has got to show his ability to fight Donald Trump, because we're hearing this more and more and more and more and more, that you got to fight. They're fighting, but not smartly. Just as an aside here, if every hill is a hill to die on, you're going to get slaughtered. And Chuck Schumer has made this a hill to die on, and I'm generally baffled as to why he would do that. Because what's he going to gain? Donald Trump is Hitler, but he can keep on Hitlering if we negotiate on health care. That's essentially his message. And I just got a sneaking suspicion that's not actually going to be the best message for the Democrats when it comes to placating both progressives and the public as a whole who are upset by the government shutdown. And yet Schumer has got to do something to look like he's fighting in order to deal with the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fight from his left flank. Look at where New York City is going with Mamdani. They're willing to head off the deep end and take Chuck Schumer with them. When we come back, remember all the SIM cards they found in New York? First speculation was Russia. Turns out it's China. I've got the details. But first, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College, because they would love to give you one of their classes for free. They have some great ones on C.S. Lewis, on Shakespeare, on the founding of our constitutional republic, on the Roman Republic, on economics, chemistry, and math, on the Federalist Papers. They've got so much to choose from. A great one on capitalism. Every class is a 30-minute video from the finest faculty at Hillsdale. Depending on the class, depends on the number of 30-minute videos you watch. You go to ericforhillsdale.com today to sign up, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College, and their faculty educate you. They don't indoctrinate you. You get a certificate of completion, and you don't pay a penny. You improve your mind. You get smarter. For free from Hillsdale. The capitalism class, it's a good primer everybody I think needs right now as capitalism comes under attack from the left. But they got so much there. Just 40 classes to choose from. Surely there's something you're interested in. Go to ericforhillsdale.com today. Sign up today with Hillsdale College and let them help you. When we come back, we got to deal with the China story. And also, the head of police in Chicago is having a press conference. I'll bring you some of that when we come back. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick two. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Hello, it is Eric Erickson. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. Remember when the president spoke at the United Nations the other day, there was the Secret Service notice of a potential plot to thwart the telecom system in New York City. This is from ABC News. A thwarted plot to cripple the telecom system in New York was bigger than investigators first realized, adding to the urgency of their search for answers. Federal agents discovered additional locations and more equipment as they worked to determine the ultimate goal of what the Secret Service said was a China-linked plot that could have crippled every cell tower in the nation's largest city, jammed 911 calls, and unleashed chaos on communications networks. Agents from Homeland Security Investigations found an additional 200,000 SIM cards at a location in New Jersey. That's double the 100,000 SIM cards, along with hundreds of servers that were recently seized at 5 other vacant offices and apartments in and around the city. Investigators secured each of those locations, seized the electronics, and are now trying to track down who rented the spaces and filled them with shelves full of gear capable of sending 30 million anonymous text messages every minute, overloading communications and blacking out cellular services in a city that relies on it for emergency response and counterterrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to paint for you a broader picture than what is painted in the national press. A few months ago, multiple Chinese citizens working in colleges in the United States, in laboratories, some of whom I think were in Michigan, they were arrested by the federal government. They were attempting to bring into the country fungi and other materials that could wipe out American crops. They claimed to be testing it. They were smuggling it in from China. The pathogens that could kill American crops. In Los Angeles, an illegal Chinese-owned biolab was raided with pathogens from HIV to Ebola found inside. It was a bioweapons lab run by agents of the Chinese Communist Party. So you have a bioweapons lab run by China in Los Angeles. You have Chinese scientists trying to bring in pathogens that could kill American crops, particularly corn crops. You have what are called Chinese police stations all over the United States, where it's Chinese government agents working to harass, detain, and threaten Chinese dissidents inside the United States. And now you've got a massive cybersecurity and telecom operation in New York and New Jersey with 300,000 SIM cards and a massive pile of servers that could overwhelm and crash the entire cell network in the greater New York metropolitan area. In addition to all of that, there's TikTok that this government continues to not treat as a serious national security threat when it is documented that it is. Y'all, we got problems. We have real problems when we're not taking this sort of stuff seriously. The Chinese are an enemy now. They're not a trading partner, they're an enemy. Whether we like it or not, we're in a Cold War with them. They had a bioweapons lab in California, an agricultural pathogen import business with Chinese spies in Michigan, a cell tower cyber terror service in New York and New Jersey. And we pretend to treat them as if they're just a trading partner. We need to stop treating China as a trading partner. They mean to do us harm. China is preparing more and more and more. China wants to wipe us out. Let me read you another story that's completely unrelated, except it's not. This is from June 2nd. Ukraine on Sunday orchestrated a massive drone attack targeting 5 key Russian military air bases in its most long-range operation, striking targets deep into Russian territory, thousands of kilometers from the front line. Under the covert operation codenamed Spiderweb, Ukraine's security service struck at least 41 aircraft used to bomb Ukrainian cities, including Tu-95 and Tu-22 strategic bombers and the A-50 radar detection command aircraft. Moscow confirmed that 5 of its airfields in Murmansk, Irkutsk, Ivanovo, Ryazan, and Amur regions were struck by Kyiv using first-person view drones. How did they do it? They put them inside vehicles that looked like Russian vehicles. They were hidden deep inside the trucks and trains and released on their targets as they got close. Because the drones couldn't make it there on their own with fuel. They had to be driven most of the way. We had a Chinese spy balloon sail over this nation from the Biden administration. It actually collected more data than the Biden administration admitted at first. They didn't shoot it down until they made it to the Atlantic. We've had a number of drones in this country disrupting military airfields. The Chinese mean business. Have we not been paying attention as a nation? The Chinese mean business. They're setting up bioweapons labs in the United States. They're bringing in agricultural pathogens. They're launching attacks that could shut down New York City's communications grid. We have these drones. You notice how the stories about the drones over the military bases has slowed down or stopped? Some of it was actually commercial drone infrastructure that we knew and just Americans weren't paying attention. But a lot of it was real and serious. It wasn't demons, it wasn't aliens, it was the Chinese. And still this nation does not take them seriously. The Chinese are preparing. They're testing our resolve and our defenses. They want to invade Taiwan. We've got to stand with Taiwan. There's a lot of wobbling on what we do to stand with Taiwan. We got to stand with Taiwan because the Chinese won't stop there. They'll come for Guam. They'll come for Hawaii. They'll come for the United States. They don't want to be a regional superpower. They want to be an international leader, and that means taking us out. And they're working internally inside the United States right now to do it. You know what? If I were a Tom Clancy type to write a book, you know what I would write a book about? All the little small Chinese restaurants in the United States. Did you know there's a school in China where people immigrating to the United States can go and they can actually take classes and learn how to start a Chinese restaurant in the United States? They learn, much of what we eat as Chinese food in this country isn't actually Chinese food. And what you do in these classes is you take the classes and you learn what flavor profiles Americans like. You learn how to make the Mongolian beef and the sesame chicken and the sweet and sour pork and shrimp and the General Tso's chicken. You learn all these recipes. You learn how to make the egg foo young and the things that aren't really Chinese. They're originated in San Francisco, but you learn how to run an American cash register, and you learn English enough to run a restaurant. And then you can go to the United States and you can open a little mom and pop restaurant. If I were a Tom Clancy type, I would do kind of like a Black Widow series. You know, Black Widow and Marvel it's all these little Russian girls who were brought in at an early age into the communist regime, and they were trained as children to be assassins. Except in my story, one of the things the Chinese would do when they start World War III is all little mom and pop Chinese restaurants who went through these schools in China. They learned that on the appointed day at the appointed time, they were to poison the food, to start the war by giving Americans poison through the food system. That's just me. That's what I think. That would be an intriguing book. And the CIA would think, no, this is crazy. This can't possibly be. I mean, the Chinese are using TikTok as a surveillance app on Americans. They could clearly be using the mom and pop Chinese restaurants. Now, that being said, I'm not going to stop eating at them because I love Chinese food. I have been a lover of Chinese food since I was a kid. I wish I could get the Chinese food as good as I used to get it overseas. In fact, I had a local restaurant near me that made it as good as I got overseas, and it closed down years ago to expand a Kroger. That then once the restaurant closed, Kroger decided not to expand. I was very disheartened because they had the best Chinese buffet in town. I love Chinese food. Fried wontons, with pork on the inside, yes. Sesame chicken, yes. Mongolian beef, oh my goodness, yes. But I'm just saying, it would be a plot. I wouldn't put it past the Chinese. We can't trust them. We cannot trust the Chinese. They're using every possible advantage they can get on us. We have time to overcome those advantages, but I don't think even in the Trump administration they're taking it too seriously. Too many people in the Defense Department busy fighting each other, not looking at China. There's a lot of talk from the Defense Secretary, but the chaos inside the Defense Department does not leave me reassured. Now, to the phones we go. James, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Something somebody's talking about is we're farmers, my family is, and we've got our fields in a CRP conservation program, along with 667,000 more American farmers. That's 27 million acres that's in CRP that none of us are being paid for because of this government shutdown, and nobody's talking about it. These Democrats care more about...
Okay, so wait. Just hang on a second. Just for the lingo, for people who don't know. So it's CRP is Conservation Reserve Program, which is a voluntary program that pays you guys to take your land out of production.
That's correct. We get paid every October for it. Everybody does. I mean, 27 million acres of it gets paid for every October, and nobody's being paid for it because the government shut down. The Democrats care more about illegal alien health care than they do us farmers. It's sickening. And nobody's talking about it. I heard nobody say anybody anywhere.
Well, you know, I'm glad you called, James, because I honestly, I didn't know the payment was is it a monthly payment or is it a yearly payment?
It goes out every year for all of us in October.
Wow.
The whole country gets in October. None of us are getting our money because of this shutdown.
Man, James, listen, I'm glad you called and put this on. I'll blast this out on Twitter as well because I had no idea. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know what this is, I'm familiar with the program. It's a voluntary program within the Department of Agriculture where farmers can take land out of production. They can plant permanent vegetable cover don't plant kudzu, that'll take over, but grasses and meadow flowers and things like that. They take the land out of production, and the federal government pays them to take it out of production. You can enroll for 10 and 15-year contracts in some of this land. And guess what? As James points out, farmers are not getting paid. Over 27 million acres of land not getting paid by the federal government because of this. That's something that James, I promise, I will raise awareness on. The Democrats are too interested in trying to pay for illegal alien health care to worry about the farmers. And notice how the national media, they too would rather focus on the illegal aliens than on the farmers. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here. Too late to call in, I'm afraid. That being said, can I be real honest with you? I don't care about, I don't care about Bad Bunny. I don't know who Bad Bunny is. Well, I kind of know who he is. But I couldn't care less. Now, for those of you who don't know who Bad Bunny is, he's the most popular rapper in Puerto Rico. The king of Latin trap, they call him. I could not care less that he is going to be the performer. He's actually a huge star. Now, he's not a star that I care about. He's 31. He's in a different demo than me, and I couldn't care less. I don't listen to his music. I wouldn't recognize his music if you played it for me, but he's actually I know enough to know he's a massive celebrity, not just in Puerto Rico. And the National Football League, they're not trying to lock in viewers like me. They're trying to get 20 and 30 young 30-somethings and teenagers to tune in to the NFL. And Bad Bunny is popular with them. He also doesn't like Donald Trump and ICE and MAGA and all of that. And I don't care. I don't expect the National Football League to put someone who shares my politics on stage for the halftime show. And somebody will be like, Erickson, you should. I see there's a petition going around for a Christian contemporary artist, CCM. Most Christians I know don't particularly care for Christian CCM. I'm one of the few that does. But even I don't like a lot of it. There's some I like. The Third Day reunion is happening. God bless them. I love them. But y'all, I just, who cares? I don't know about you people, but I watch football games for the football. I don't watch for the halftime shows. I don't see the halftime shows. I think the last time there was a good halftime show at the Super Bowl, it was Prince. The Madonna one started off good and went off the rails. They typically find some boomer who's past their prime who will do it for free to get back in people's imagination. Taylor Swift won't do it because they didn't want to pay her anything. She's like, don't you know who I am? And they're like, but even Taylor could use exposure. No, she's like the most overexposed artist in America now. The Bad Bunny thing, I don't care. I know some of you get worked up and like, I got to have somebody who shares my politics. I would never watch a movie if I cared about people's politics. The movies they produce for people like you and me with all the actors who completely agree with us, they're bad movies. They're dumb movies. The washed up actors who can't get jobs in Hollywood because they're not great actors are like, it's because I'm a conservative. It's because you're not good. I don't need to see a bad singer. I'm not going to watch it anyway. So spare me the outrage. Just please spare me the outrage over Bad Bunny. I am going to watch the Super Bowl. I'm assuming Indianapolis is going to be in it. We'll see. Now, I got to tell you about Swiss America. Swiss America has been sounding the alarm on a secret war on cash. The government is trying to steer you away from your cash into using plastic. They don't like anonymous purchases. They certainly don't like your crypto. Swiss America would like to give you their report on the secret war on cash completely free. All you have to do is call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. You know that war on cash does include digital forms of currency. You just mentioned Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. It's 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Let Swiss America help you. Message and data rates may apply. Swiss America can give you the report for free. And by the way, my son passed his driving test. Hallelujah and praise the Lord. See y'all tomorrow.